Connie, thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you on the show, and I'd love to dive in because you're addressing a very interesting topic of aligning passion with careers. Super exciting. And just to get things kicked off, if you wouldn't mind giving us just a little bit of background about yourself and the book.
Sure. So I'm a business and marketing strategist, an executive consultant, a podcaster, entrepreneur, speaker, and now an author. That's my career mashup. And I've been working with scale-up companies to not only develop their business and marketing strategies, but also drive successful execution of them. And I happened to launch my own podcast a couple years ago to share tips, stories, and advice from progressive leaders on how to break through the common challenges and inertia that we all face in our work and career. And it's through those learnings, coupled with my own interest in the future of work, that made me realize something bigger was going on. And I just had to dive deeper into understanding the why. And that deeper interest in trying to figure out what was going on ultimately led to a thesis, which then led to the book.
So can you tell me a little bit about the book? What does the title mean? Let's start with the title and then we'll go into the big idea.
Sure. So Building the Business of You, a system to align passion and growth potential through your own career mashup is the title of the book. What it means is that you now need to be the CEO of you, because now let's face it, we are now a product and service on the web, whether we like it or not. And as a result, you need to be able to position yourself effectively. You need to be able to show the unique value that you bring to market. But also as an individual, we have our own personal goals that we want to fulfill. And as such, we want to be able to bring our whole selves to work. We want to take control over what it is that we want to do. And to do so, you need to have a plan. You need to be able to set the course for what it is that you want to do, which means you have to have a system to align all those things.
And can you share the big lesson from the book? If you can teach us one thing from the book, what would that be?
The big lesson from the book is that in order to create the traction that you're looking for and create that career mashup that you may want to develop, you have to have a strategic plan. And so the book focuses on providing a fundamental skill that many of us are not taught in school at all. Strategic planning is something that companies do. And if you now have to be the CEO of your own career, you need to know how to do strategic planning. And that's fundamentally a core idea of the book.
And how do I get started on that journey? How do I create a strategic plan about myself?
Strategic planning is really three things. It is research and analysis. Just like anything you do, if you have an interest, you're reading about it, you're collecting information, you're formulating thoughts and ideas. So in this instance, you start off by doing it for you, the things that you want to pursue, the things that make you happy, or something that you realize that you can potentially deliver impact with. Then it means creating a plan. A plan is just outlining the pathway to get there, but not the checklist of tasks. It's being very clear on what it is you're striving for, and then subsequently, how do those activities align to getting there? And then the last piece is just executing against it. But to execute against your plan, it requires people, and it requires you to inevitably build skills that you may have some of, you may not have any of, but you need to continually build those capabilities, and they're hard skills and soft skills, to help you get to where you want to go.
Could you give me an example of going from passion to impact to career?
Sure. So let me give you an example of somebody I just interviewed. She is it's interesting career mashup. She is a medical student. However, she started off as a researcher. She also is a board member and VP of a nonprofit. She's also a project manager in this key medical initiative. But for her career journey started at 8. She made a promise to her mother to develop the first pharmacological treatment for lymphedema. It's an incurable disease that people often get from a cancer treatment. So it's an incurable disease that people often get once they get cancer treatments. And so at the age of 13, she decides, I'm going to fully pursue this path. And she had spent the time in her youth researching reading, trying to understand every facet of it. And it's through this research analysis with her mother that she then serendipitously read a gardening magazine, read about a flower called the lupin flower, and it happened to have properties that had anti-inflammatory properties that could potentially help. Light bulb went off. Realized, wait, everything that I've been reading holistically about this disease, this compound in this flower, maybe, with my childlike innocence, as she called it, could be a solution. And that is what she's working on today. So from spotting the trends to then realizing this could be it, set that course to see if that could be what she researches and formulate a solution. So then she set a plan to get funding, work in a research lab, which didn't exist. And she reached out to people to help her along the way. By that point, I think she was 13 or 14, and she was parallel pathing being a student, ultimately a high school student, and a researcher at the same time. Yet, as she was collecting information and data, she continued to build on her plan to find that ultimate treatment and continued to do so and built skills, not only from a medical perspective, but also from a soft skills perspective, communication, influence, problem solving. But she's naturally very compassionate. So she used those incredible soft skills to connect with people and branch out into opportunities, which led to her being a keynote speaker at 15, I believe. And subsequently, it just led to other opportunities. And ultimately, she became a board member of the Lymphedema Association in Canada, again, at a very, very young age. But it was still this roadmap of researching, analyzing, based off that, realizing there's an opportunity to take advantage of or really to capitalize on, crafting that path and defining how to get there. But most importantly, it's testing and learning along the way because we don't always have all the information. So based on that, that helped her navigate and pivot and optimize. And through that, she leveraged people to help her build those skills, to help gather more information. And subsequently, she's stacked her skills. She's created this talent stack of capabilities, which now has led to her doing multiple things and ultimately creating her career mashup.
And all that is not to say that for the rest of us who are not as, we don't wake up being passionate about something. I'm sure there are many late bloomers, but it's the process that applies across. So if you start at 20, 30, 40 years old and you wake up and you're saying, I'm not passionate, you should follow that full process in order to identify your passion, see where you can have impact, and then evolve that into a career mashup.
Absolutely. I fully believe that everybody has something that they have an interest in. They may not have had the opportunity to fully explore what that is for various circumstances. Once you spend the time to understand yourself and know what drives you, what enlivens you, where you feel you can deliver value and impact to other people, that's when you're going to know there is some alignment there. That may not be the end all be all, but it does start somewhere. There must be something in your lifetime. If you reflect back to your childhood or your teen years or your college years, everyone has been passionate or had some interest somewhere along the way. You just might not have had the opportunity to spend more time on it because at that time, it wasn't an area in which you might have been able to build a career out of it. It might have been a time in which you're forced to conform to what society or your family wanted you to do. But everyone, I believe, has had something that they have really felt fulfilled by doing. And it's now going back through your own history and understanding where that came from and why.
And can you explain a little bit the concept of a mashup? Why is a career mashup important? And if you can explain it, and then why it's important.
A career mashup is essentially a combination of one's interests, experiences, roles, skills, hobbies, anything that you've ever done that's combined together that truly reflects your whole self, your full capabilities. And it really comes in two forms. It could be a portfolio career, which many people might have heard. So think of, the stock portfolio, you're diversifying with, multiple stocks, but in this case, you may have multiple jobs, multiple roles, which has multiple streams of income, and you're just combining it together where it lets you play in all those areas that you want to. So maybe you have a primary job working for a company, but at night you have your side hustle. That could be making money. And that's maybe where you want to pivot to. Or there could be another role that you are a executive of a nonprofit in addition to that. But all of those things really fulfill you. Another form of career mashup is one in which you've had all these varying experiences, interests, skills, and you're able to bring all that to bear into a particular role. And it's because of this breadth and depth of skills and experiences that you have that make you incredibly unique. And as such, you are so much more effective in your job, and that you think outside of the box. You're able to operate more efficiently and more quickly, and you're able to deliver incredible impact to an organization. So if many of you have been in that job where you start this position and they see your capabilities, but you naturally are illustrating so much more of what you can do, and they realize, wait, you know how to do this? I didn't know that. We're going to have you actually work on this project as well. You take that on. And then because of that, they see what else you can do. They add on more, but it's because they see that you have this amazing ability to almost be a utility player and connect the dots in such a way that can create incredible speed to market and can really establish incredible impact such that you're able to grow in a unique way and not be boxed in by a very narrow role.
And a quick follow up to that: would you say there are good career? Can there be a good career mashup versus a bad career mashup? Is there such a thing? Does that make sense?
I don't know if there's necessarily a good career mashup or a bad career mashup, because this mashup is unique to you. You are combining these different elements that ultimately are trying to reflect all of you. You have to test and learn to see what that optimal combination is. Now, you personally may feel that it's not a good career mashup, maybe initially at the time, but it depends on how you're evaluating that measure of success. So I don't ever look at it as good or bad. I see this as the opportunity to learn from trying, accepting that maybe it doesn't go the way that you may expect, but through every iteration of yourself. That's incredible data that you bring back to help you understand where to pivot, where to focus on, where to double down, and subsequently you'll grow from that, because it's very much about your growth mindset versus a very black and white situation. I do want to answer your other question though about like why a career mashup. So the reason why I use the term career mashup is because in today's world of work, people are parallel pathing multiple activities and roles and so forth to fulfill their whole selves. People in this new world of work are looking for optionality. They don't want to be boxed in. The old world of work was about being linear, sequential, siloed, and operating from a position of conformity. Needed to conform to a structure, to a culture, to just a way of moving up this career ladder. And that's fundamentally shifted to one that's about being fluid, being collaborative, being multimodal and multidimensional, and subsequently expressing one's individuality. And so for people today, many have multiple career goals. It's not just about the next title, making more money, maybe even having more power. There's so much more that people want out of life and they realize they need out of life, that those goals are not only multiplicative, but they're also equal in nature. So if you think about that as just an equation, if you have multiple goals, there is no way that one path can help you accomplish all those goals. So you need to think of the combination that will help you ultimately achieve those goals that you want to have. And that's why a career mashup is important for people to understand, and what many have been looking to do, but might not have realized it.
So what does that mean for companies that want to attract the best talent? If talent takes that advice and they create career mashups, how do companies attract the best talent?
So companies now have to be a fluid organization, which means they also have to test, learn, and adapt themselves to identifying what's the right fit with these employees. And what that specifically means is that they need to align to the individual employee's passions, interests, and goals. Each individual wants to know what impact they're going to be delivering. And if there isn't this mutual value exchange between these individuals and the company, they're not going to stay. They know that they can craft their own career path. They want to have full control. They don't feel encumbered by need to stay with a specific organization. They have the confidence to lay out their career in their own terms, and being boxed into any one role, experience, or company where they don't feel that they can grow in concert with the company makes it challenging, obviously, for a company. But if an organization doesn't understand that, doesn't understand the needs, goals, and interests of these individuals, it's going to be incredibly difficult to retain them, because it has to be one where there is mutual benefit at the end, in the end.
And as people seem to be becoming more entrepreneurial, you have gig economy, all these things happening. Have you seen that companies are adjusting, or are they falling behind and they're lagging in terms of realizing this need?
I think it depends on which company that you're talking to, actually. So obviously the trend in the gig economy has certainly been a significant driver in those establishing this career mashup, taking control over their approach to navigating the world of work and defining what it is that they want out of work. There are organizations and companies that are more progressive and realize that by tapping into this incredible workforce, it gives them not only the flexibility to scale up and scale down in the way they need to in order to achieve speed to market, but what they also are able to tap into is this incredible breadth and depth of expertise that can help them think outside of the box, can help them be more competitive, can help them also see opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise because of the diversity, this mashup of talent and experiences that can truly propel their business forward. But there are many organizations that still operate under a model in which they want just full-time people, or they are hiring many where it's still a check the box requirement, a list of specific skills, almost a very specific checklist that they need to conform to, versus looking at one's aptitude. As many of us know, or hopefully I'm sure many of us experienced, what's on paper doesn't really fully reflect somebody's true capabilities. Many can learn a new skill and grow into a new role. It's giving them the opportunity, but there's other markers and signals that show their ability to do so. Not all organizations may look at that, or not a lot. Many other organizations may not be aware that that's a way to evaluate folks, but there are some that are incredibly progressive and have found a way to, in fact, test and learn along with their people to determine dynamically what ultimately is the best fit for both parties, such that they are all in lockstep with each other and are learning together how to create the greatest impact collectively for all.
I want to address two things that you mentioned in the book. You say we're all Jennifer Lopez, and you also highlight the importance of networking. So first, why do you say we're all Jennifer Lopez?
The reason why I said we are all Jennifer Lopez now is because she is an incredible example of a career mashupper, and probably one of the earliest career mashuppers. Because I know when I was growing up, I knew her first as a dancer on a show in Living Color. And then I saw her evolve into an actress. And then I saw her as a singer. And then I've seen her throughout the years where she has branched out into various roles. And so depending on who you ask, how would you define Jennifer Lopez? There's not necessarily one term that may define her. She has all of those things, and she is continually evolving and expanding her reach and capabilities and skills and talents in every direction that continually make her relevant, unique, and even more appealing. Networking is incredibly important because you need people. Everybody needs people to get to where they want to go. You can only go so far by going alone. And by building relationships with those that have clarity on where it is you want to go, what it is you want to do, and having authentic relationships specifically, you're more likely to be able to find that traction and make considerable progress in achieving that goal and objective. But you need to understand how to do that in a way that's not transactional, which is, unfortunately, in many instances, what it feels like. And it's also scary for a lot of people who assume that networking is a natural and innate skill that extroverts have. It's not necessarily true. Everyone feels somewhat uncomfortable trying to meet somebody that they don't know and building that connection. So it's reframing how you look at it and realize that if it's all about building a true friendship, helping one another, just like you've got your closest friends, they would do anything for you. In a professional sense, is working towards building that kind of relationship where you naturally enjoy each other's company, you naturally want to support one another's business goals or personal goals for that matter, since you are the CEO of you, and knowing how to leverage one another in the best way to do so.
Great, thank you for that. And I just like asking this question, what is your second favorite business book?
Radical Candor by Kim Scott.
Awesome. And what do you wish you knew 5 years earlier?
I wish I knew 5 years earlier that testing, learning, and iterating on yourself is really the only way to grow in the way that you want, so that you ultimately can be your whole self.
And for people who want to learn more about the ideas around the book, your ideas, how do they find you, connect with your content? Are there any additional resources?
So to learn more about the book, you can go check out the website, www.bizofyou.co, bizofyou.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, at Flywheel Assoc, or at Connie W. Steele, or on Instagram at Strategic Momentum or Connie Wang Steele. And I'm pretty much on most of the socials too.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing. It was a pleasure having you.
It was wonderful being on this show. Thank you.